Arnold Schwarzenegger just completely dismantled Jimmy Kimmel, and he did it right there on Kimmel's own late-night set. The legendary actor turned former governor held nothing back, delivering a cutting verbal takedown that had the crowd going wild. Not in Kimmel's favor, but in Arnold's. That's something you rarely see, a mostly progressive studio audience bursting into applause for a Republican-leaning centrist calling out one of their beloved pop culture figures. So what exactly did Kimmel do to earn that heat? I've got all the incredible footage lined up, so hit that subscribe button and get ready. It all began last week when Arnold showed up on The View and refused to play alone. The hosts tried pushing him toward criticizing Donald Trump, expecting him to fold, but Arnold turned it around completely, delivering a powerful response that left the entire panel at a loss for words. Apparently, Jimmy Kimmel missed that memo. Convinced he could pull off what The View couldn't, Kimmel took his shot, pressuring Arnold to condemn Trump over the IC protests. Big mistake. Arnold didn't just push back, he flipped the entire situation, unleashing another wave of raw honesty that left Kimmel speechless while his own audience cheered for the man he tried to trap. Roll the clip.
It seems like our president doesn't want to have this problem solved. He wants to create.
It looks like our president has no interest in actually solving this problem. He wants to manufacture crises. And that's the setup. Pure and simple. At this point, the agenda isn't even subtle anymore. The desperation is written all over it and the playbook is crystal clear. Bait a Republican into publicly criticizing their own president just to score a viral moment. But what Jimmy Kimmel never anticipated was what happened next. He had absolutely no idea that Arnold Schwarzenegger was about to walk straight into that trap and turn it completely around on him. No pause, no hesitation, no second guessing, just raw, unfiltered truth delivered with the kind of power only Arnold can summon. Watch what happens.
I have to tell you, people always say to me, oh my God, what's going on in America right now and all this stuff. And I say to them, I said, relax. I've come over here in 1968, where it was a disaster. I mean, even the most fantastic country, but I came over here, 1968, Martin Luther King was assassinated. Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. There were the riots left and right because of the Vietnam, there were the protests. Then there was the attack on the Democratic Convention in Chicago. And then after that, there was Watergate. And the thing went on and on and on, where people said, what is going on in America? And we got out of that mess. So America will always get out of this mess. And we will get out of this, believe me, this will be solved, this issue. Los Angeles will always be a great city to come to. I'm very, very proud of.
Now, Arnold isn't without flaws. He's had moments in the past that gave people reason to question him. But right here, in this particular moment, he was completely on point. The iconic actor and former California governor gave a calm, assured, and laser-focused response to what was clearly a loaded question from Jimmy Kimmel. And here's what made it remarkable: Kimmel's own audience started clapping. Arnold didn't waver. He didn't trip up. He saw the setup approaching from a distance and handled it like a seasoned veteran. With composed confidence, he told the crowd that Trump has the capacity to restore order to the chaos, clean up the streets, and help bring Los Angeles back to what it used to be. And for once, even that predominantly left-leaning crowd seemed to be nodding along. Arnold didn't just make his case, he owned the entire room. And he wasn't done yet. He followed that up with a pointed jab at Gavin Newsom, highlighting what he views as a failure of leadership during LA's ongoing crisis, putting the sitting governor on notice with the same measured, controlled intensity he used to shut Kimmel down.
This wouldn't happen if the politicians would do their work. Think about it.
And a significant number of Californians appear to be standing behind Arnold on this. Fresh polling indicates Gavin Newsom's approval ratings are eroding, with numbers settling around the mid-50s and showing a downward trend compared to earlier peaks. That's not just minor background chatter, that's a warning signal, a clear indication that public frustration is mounting. A growing number of voters are fed up with what they perceive as half-hearted responses to ongoing problems, ranging from economic strain to public safety concerns. Some feel that the attention has drifted away from solving problems locally and shifted more toward building a national political brand. Businesses are hurting. Costs keep rising. And for many people, it feels like meaningful solutions simply aren't arriving quickly enough. People's patience is running out. They're no longer impressed by carefully crafted speeches. They want action. They want results. And that's precisely why Arnold's message is starting to cut through. It's direct. It's unvarnished. And to many, it feels authentic. No fluff, no hedging, just plain talk that slices through the noise and connects with people who are fed up. And just when it seemed like he had made his point, Arnold pushed even further, this time turning his sights toward the mainstream media.
I think that what you're referring to is, of course, the protests that are going on
everything
in LA.
that's going on.
I totally agree with you, by the way, Jimmy, because they make it out to like it is a zone, the whole Los Angeles, the whole city or the county. And the fact of the matter is, it's maybe like 0.001% of the area of Los Angeles has problems and there's a protest.
Yeah.
And so I think that this is important for people to know, because I don't want all of a sudden tourism to suffer in Los Angeles because what they see on television, because the media sometimes shows it as if the whole Los Angeles is a big zone, which is.
And that is precisely what legacy media does best. Exaggerate stories, reshape the narrative, and transform everything into a spectacle where Donald Trump inevitably gets cast as the bad guy. The headlines, the dramatic footage, the carefully chosen camera angles, it stops feeling like journalism and starts feeling like theater. But here's what they consistently fail to see, and what Arnold highlighted so effectively. When they sensationalize events like the ICE protests, they're not only attacking Trump, they're damaging their own cities in the process. Branding Los Angeles as some kind of catastrophe zone may generate clicks, but it also drives away tourists, investors, and everyday families who bring energy and economic life to the city. That type of fear-based coverage doesn't simply disappear, it lingers, and over time, it erodes the city's reputation and its prospects. Arnold called it out with sharp precision and zero hesitation. He made clear that if people genuinely care about the direction this city is heading, they need to stop weaponizing every story for media gain and start concentrating on actual solutions. And just when it felt like the conversation couldn't climb any higher, Arnold pivoted once more, this time pointing his focus squarely at the politicians themselves.
I just get very frustrated because we send those politicians to Washington to solve the problems, and all they are is instead of public servants, they're party servants. And I think this is really the bad thing about it, So it's just I think there should be public servants.
I'm sure there's a huge amount of truth to that.
Arnold keeps firing off one truth bomb after another, and the audience can't stop reacting to the raw candor pouring out of him. No filter, no political spin, just straightforward talk that people have been starving for. He's not playing the political chess game. He's saying exactly what he thinks. And it's landing in a way that most politicians never manage to achieve. Meanwhile, the people actually holding power seem laser-focused on one thing: winning their next election. They campaign on pledges to serve the public, but once they take office, the priority shifts to party loyalty and personal image management. Just look at Gavin Newsom. At a time when California was wrestling with enormous challenges, from devastating wildfires to widespread civil unrest, critics argue the response simply didn't rise to meet the moment. Rather than stepping up to restore calm during the ICE protests, some believe the situation was permitted to worsen while political strategy took priority over immediate action. And the ones who bore the real burden weren't the politicians, it was ordinary people, families, small business owners, and workers just trying to keep their heads above water. Arnold didn't hesitate to call it out. And for a lot of people watching, it felt like someone was finally voicing what they had been thinking all along.
Probably Donald Trump doesn't want you to be trusted because I don't think Donald Trump likes you very much, to be honest. True? Yeah. So, but I think the nature of the media is to show where, there's some guys robbing looting a medical marijuana store, and then there's, a few Waymos on fire, and to put that together in a montage and make it seem like all hell is breaking loose.
Kimmel, visibly irritated that he couldn't box Arnold into a corner with his usual tricks, took one final swing. Fishing for a viral headline, he tried to stoke tension by suggesting that Trump doesn't even respect Arnold, a classic bait move designed to manufacture conflict and push Arnold into snapping back on live television. But Arnold spotted it from a mile away. Calm, composed, and fully in command, he didn't just dodge the trap, he reversed it entirely. Rather than taking the bait, he transformed it into a moment that completely changed the conversation's direction. With steady confidence, he broke down the setup and redirected the attention, pointing out how these kinds of cheap provocations in manufactured drama only drag the conversation into the gutter. It wasn't just evasion, it was a precise, clean dismantling of the entire scheme. The audience responded immediately. Kimmel looked visibly rattled, and once again, Arnold came out appearing as the most grounded person in the room. But there's one more moment you absolutely have to see: Arnold sidestepping yet another one of Kimmel's traps. Watch this.
Is that the case here in Los Angeles right now?
No, well, first of all, let's just be honest. The whole thing has to do with the deportation.
Yes, of
And
course.
of course, this is a very sensitive subject to me, because when I came over to this country, I was living in fear of being deported.
Were you?
Yeah, because at one point I did a movie that was so bad that I thought that the critics would deport me and send me back to Austria.
You were
Hasta la vista, baby.
You were worried that you were going to be deported for creative reasons.
Kimmel, very much like the hosts over at The View, tried the same stale maneuver, using Arnold's background as an immigrant to guilt him into firing a shot at Donald Trump. It's an old move straight from the identity politics playbook. Weaponize personal history, pull on emotional strings, and hope the guest buckles under the pressure. But Arnold didn't budge. He recognized the setup instantly and stepped around it with quiet precision, turning the moment into yet another demonstration of how to stay above the noise. It's becoming increasingly clear that Arnold Schwarzenegger is far more politically astute than most people have given him credit for. This isn't just the action legend with the unmistakable accent. This is a man who understands the game, reads the tactics, and takes them apart one layer at a time. He identifies emotional manipulation the moment it surfaces and refuses to let media personalities twist his words for cheap viral content. At a time when even veteran politicians struggle to hold their footing, Arnold's clarity, composure, and unshakable confidence stand out as something genuinely refreshing.
Do you think that people who've been in this country for 25 years and who have had no criminal activity whatsoever should be granted the rights of U.S. citizenship?
What this is, what I'm talking about, is immigration reform. A comprehensive immigration reform will address all of those issues.
That.
Yes, and also we would then be able to hand out more visas, temporary working permits, permanent working permits, the green card, and all citizenship, and all of those things. And we would know who comes into the United States rather than not knowing and having so many people here that we don't even know who they are and what kind of criminal activities they are participating in and all this. So it's a shame, the whole thing, because we have a country that needs workers. And when you look at south of the border, they want to.
Did you catch that moment of complete silence from the audience? It was deafening. A heavy, stunned pause that communicated far more than any applause ever could. This wasn't ordinary quiet, this was the sound of something hitting a nerve so deep that people simply didn't know how to respond. Arnold didn't raise his voice. He didn't perform for the cameras. He simply told the truth. Calm, clear, and without flinching. And here is the truth that most people won't say out loud: every person living inside a country should be documented. That is not xenophobia. That is basic national security. That is common sense. A nation can only function properly when it knows who is within its borders, why they are there, and what they are doing. Anyone who enters illegally or overstays a visa has broken the law. And like any other lawbreaker, there must be consequences. Arnold wasn't being heartless, he was being straightforward. And that stunned silence? That was the sound of people hearing genuine honesty for the first time in a long while. From The View to Jimmy Kimmel's stage, Arnold didn't just survive a full-scale media ambush, he took it apart piece by piece. He exposed the traps, sidestepped the emotional manipulation, and spoke truths that the legacy media would far prefer to keep buried. He called out the double standards, stood up for law and order, and reminded everyone watching that real leadership isn't measured in applause, it's measured in the courage to say uncomfortable things. In a world saturated with spin and manufactured outrage, Arnold's unfiltered candor was a genuine breath of fresh air. And judging by those stunned faces, it landed with far more force than anyone in that room ever expected.